Greetings everyone, this is Connor from Dagora TV, and in this video I'm talking about what if the Elder Scrolls 6 was set on Akavir. I actually said I was going to make this video a couple of days ago when I talked about the recent leaks, or the supposed leaks even, if what have come out of Bethesda recently, which said that the Elder Scrolls 6 was actually going to be set on the continent of Akavir, which is kind of goes well in marketing because it's going to be called the Elder Scrolls 6 Akavir according to this person, because you know the VI commit to 6 and all that stuff, and it goes in well with Elder Scrolls Akavir, and it'll look good at the end of the trailer basically is my point. But if you remember about a year and a half ago, if you was with the channel then, is when I actually started making Elder Scrolls 6 content, and I made videos basically going through every of the provinces or every one of the countries in Tamriel, saying what could happen if the Elder Scrolls 6 was set there, what we can expect, all that good stuff. So I thought, I didn't even think that the game would be set in Akavir, but you know, with this video it's kind of brought it up to light, so I thought I would do one here to kind of update it a little bit, bring a bit of light to it, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff that the Elder Scrolls 6 can possibly bring to the table if it was set on Akavir. So basically, if you don't know already, if you're not really into the lore of Elder Scrolls or know a huge amount about it, you may be thinking, what is Akavir? Because you just probably hear about Tamriel and stuff like that. Akavir is a separate continent to the east of Tamriel. If you can see on the map here, Tamriel is basically in the centre of the map of Nirn that we're very regular with, you know, that we see quite a few often, or I put up on these videos. And to the east of that is Akavir, which is a continent which is known as to be the home of the dragons, and it's a very mysterious place, Akavir. It's probably the most talked about continent on the planet of Nirn that's not Tamriel. Of all the other ones, we don't really hear a huge amount about Yakuda or Almeris and places like that, and we just really hear about the mystery of Akavir. And like the way I kind of compared it to other people as well was having that mystery there is kind of similar to, if you're a Dishonored fan, hearing about Pandacia in Dishonored 1 and 2. It's another continent where everything's kind of going a bit crazy and way different than what we're used to on the current places that we're at. So Akavir, like I said, is home to the dragons, and we always hear about it being home to kind of a lot of beast-like races. And you know, we have beast races normally in Tamriel. We have the Argonians, we have the Khajiit, and we have the Orcs. But these are kind of more in the beast. If you're gonna have like a chart of a line graph of beast, they go more in the beast direction with some of these people. Like they've got serpent people that eat folks and stuff like that. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on over there, and it's a much smaller continent actually than Tamriel itself, but it's also, you know, a really interesting area to set because it could bring back that historical alien feeling of Morrowind had, which is something that I actually said in a few videos I'd really like to recapture, because then if you've only played Skyrim, Morrowind is kind of really centered around this game where you're kind of thrown into it as a prisoner, and everything's weird. You know, there's giant mushrooms, there's silt striders and all this stuff, there's flying wizards dropping out of the sky and stuff like that. It's a really crazy world. You feel like an alien, you don't feel welcomed in and stuff like that. And Akavir is probably the best place to recapture that, because you know, we've had difference of feelings, you know, in Elder Scrolls games. Like in Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion was very much this kind of situation that, you know, a Knights of the Round Table medieval area where you take part in, you know, the Cyrodiilic Champions Conquest and stuff like that, where you fight in an arena and you become the Grand Champion and stuff like that. Skyrim, very much a Civil War driven place, very Nord-like, very Viking-like and stuff like that. And then going over to Akavir would be a very similar feeling to Morrowind, which a lot of the new fans of the franchise haven't experienced, because a lot of people don't really want to go back that far to Morrowind because it's kind of hard to take a step back. Believe me, when I went back and played Morrowind, it was way harder than I thought it was going to be. Not for the fact that the game's actually difficult, but the fact that the amount of old mechanics that I have yet to experience, it was just took really hard to get my head around, like the dice roll combat and stuff like that. Like if it wasn't for mods, I probably wouldn't have been able to finish that game. But talking more about Akavir, let's go into a bit of a detail of what Akavir is actually like. So let's start off with actually the province itself. So there's a lot of, geographically, there's a lot different there in Akavir. You know, it's very diverse, like you'd expect. You know, something like Tamriel. Tamriel's a very diverse continent, and it's kind of a similar situation with Akavir. There's 4 known countries, so this is really all we know about Akavir, what I'm basically talking to you in this video. They've actually invaded Tamriel a number of times. A lot of the Akaviri invaders a few times stayed in Tamriel for, you know, it's up to, you know, 10-15 years, and then being able to push back away. You know, there's not really had an invasion that has sustained for a long period of time. But the countries that we know of in Akavir currently is Tangmo, which is the monkey-like people and tiger people that are allied there. We'll go in that into a second. There's the Kamal, which is known as the Snow Hell, which is basically, you know, a lot of demon-like people are living up in the north. And this is actually a really good place where I think you could maybe get some really, really high-level monsters in there, or, you know, high-level fights. Because, you know, the Elder Scrolls series hasn't really got that. Like, there is a few times, you know, in the early game of Skyrim when you're walking around and you might go into a cave and there's like 4 or 5 trolls in there or something like that. They think, okay, let's maybe leave this to another time, or you maybe come across an ancient dragon that you find hard to kill. But when it comes down to real tough combat, the Elder Scrolls series is kind of left a bit lacking in that area, whereas some games like The Witcher 3 that come out recently, or even, you know, if you want to go ridiculously hard, like Dark Souls and things like that, there's hard fights in there that you can go and seek out and take on. You know, like there's contracts you could take on early levels in Witcher. Dark Souls is renowned for its tough fights and stuff like that. So having these primal demons that are living in this snow hell of Kamal would be a really cool place to fight these huge beasts and stuff like that. And snow hell is is something that can really drive people away from the ideology of Akavir, thinking like, oh, no, you know, another snow area and it's going to be crappy again, so it's just going to be, you know, a place covered in frost and snow and not really look good and stuff like that. Don't forget that before Skyrim came out, the only thing that we really knew about Skyrim in the lore, when it comes down to Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and 4 Oblivion, is that Skyrim was seen as a frozen wasteland. And, you know, then the game came out and we saw how beautiful Skyrim actually was. So I'm sure that, you know, if Bethesda were to make the game over in Akavir, it would be a really, really beautiful area of Akavir. It's something a bit different, because there's obviously, you know, there's volcanic areas, there's jungly areas where the Tangmo live, and the Carpotun is obviously going to be a beautiful area as well. There's a lot of different mountainous areas as well where the dragon's supposed to be chilling around in. There's going to be a lot of really different areas over in Akavir, which is going to be interesting to see. The next one is one I just said, Carpotun, which is actually, you know, got probably the most history about it that we know of, which I'm not going to go fully into this video because there's a lot there to discuss with Carpotun when it comes down to it, because it was actually, I think it was originally known as Potun, and then when the dragons started to come down, and it got the name of Carpotun, because there's the tiger-like people and the dragons are kind of mingling there. I'll go into that a bit more when we go into the races. And then the last country is the biggest and most powerful kingdom in Akavir, and I'm going to put the word on screen because it's a word that you've probably seen, and you've probably maybe seen it knocking around the video and stuff like that, or some of the videos that I've put on, but and maybe even in the lore of Elder Scrolls as well, but I don't know how to say this word. Tsaesci? I'm going to say Tsaesci. Tsaesci maybe seems right. TS maybe like a chess sound. I don't know. If anyone knows how to pronounce it, please put it in the comments, so then when I make another video on this maybe, or bring this up again, I know how to say this damn word, because that's the thing about when you know when you read fantasy or play fantasy games, when you actually, you know, see these weird words and you read them in your head, you kind of recognize the word, but then when you actually have to say it, you're like, how the fuck do I say this? But Tsaesci is the largest and most powerful kingdom in Akavir. These are the guys who, you know, are really trying to have invasions over on Tamriel. These are the guys who, you know, keep going out and trying to broaden their kingdom out, because a lot of the areas like the Ukundans with the red guards, they come over to Tamriel to make their home. You had Almeris, where the High Elves came from, to go and make their home on Tamriel, and then we have the Lords leading Atmora to come down and make their home in Tamriel as well. So the Akavirs have had different ways of doing that. They've actually tried to properly invade Tamriel to try and take it over themselves, because we always hear about Tamriel as kind of like Dawn's Beauty, you know, as and it's really kind of a beautiful area to be in. It's kind of always said in the lore and the religions around the world that in the end of the 5th era, Tamriel is going to be the home to where the huge battle is going to take place. So, yeah, we know that Tamriel is definitely going to be a big, you know, fundamental part of the end story of the whole Elder Scrolls series, and it has been so far. But Akavir, that's the reason why they're trying to get over there, really, is to kind of expand their kingdom into where they believe the final battle or the end of the world is really going to take place. And the people that it's home to there is, again, the serpent men of Tsaesci, which I'll go into in a second. And it's also home to kind of vampiric serpent immortal people as well, that are enslaved goblins that are causing a lot of trouble eating people. We'll go into that in a bit later as well. But we'll actually go into that now, actually. Because there's actually, you know, the 4 known races that have been said to be in the Elder Scrolls 6 that could maybe playable, or new races that we just kind of meet throughout the world. I don't think they will be playable, because the way that they said they're going to start the game is that you being sent as an Imperial prisoner over to Akavir, and you're going to live over there in Akavir as well. And kind of take the rest of the game in there. But that's how they start the game, start as a prisoner going over there. And you'll probably, I assume that an invasion from the Tsaesci is what causes the mayhem and gives you enough room to escape. I'm presuming that's going to be the case. But I don't see how you'll be able to be one of these races if you have that same start. Because, you know, Bethesda, we all seem to have the same start for every single race in these games. The ones, especially that Todd Howard has made himself. So I don't see us playing one of these new races. I do see us meeting them, though. Well, obviously, if we're going to be playing the game there. But the 4 races that have been said to be in the game, and the ones that we actually know about existing on Akavir, is the Snow Demons have come out. These the guys that we said are basically the people, you know, the demons at the top of the map of Akavir, who are going to be the real hard boss battles people. These ones are not one of the 4 races that he said in the leak. I'll go into that in a second. And the ones that actually said in the leak are these next 4. They said the Serpentmen of the Tsaesci. They are the guys who, you know, who are eating people, going around, a snake-like race even, that are actually tried to eat the dragons at one point that we found out in the lore. And these are actually, you know, motherfucking crazy. They've got a huge army, big, powerful kingdom, the biggest area of Akavir. The next people is the monkey people of the Tagma, which are the ones I'm actually really interested in. These are actually allied with the tiger people of Karpotun, which is the next one, the tiger people of Karpotun. These guys are friends. They chill, they hang together. And the monkey people of Tagmo, basically, yeah, like you'd expect, you know, really climbing. I can expect them getting on with the wood elves, you know, living in a foresty area. Apparently they're insane, they always fight with each other. They actually drove back a few Tsaesci invasions of their country. They're always fighting with each other, the people of Akavir. Kind of like the people of Tamriel, really, you know, just always going at it with each other. And the last one of what we know of existing throughout the lore of Elder Scrolls so far is Tiger Dragons of Karpotun, which are basically the tiger humanoid people that we said that are living in Karpotun, but they're also mingling with the dragons, getting along with them, because there's a lot of dragons over there in Akavir. It's known as, like I said, the home of the dragons. So yeah, there's definitely going to be seeing that play out, and seeing the Tangmo and the tiger people, or the tiger dragons, whatever you want to call them, seeing that relationship kind of pan out is going to be really interesting, and reading how that really prevailed and kind of come on is going to be interesting to read about as well. And the last one that they said is that in the leak, he said that there's going to be the first Asian humanoid race, and it was going to be inspired by the Japanese. So maybe there's going to be some Akaviri people that we don't know about in the lore that are going to pop up, because the Akaviris, the what we know about so far is the people from Tamriel going over there, and because there's actually been a few times when people from Tamriel have gone over to Akavir. There was actually a couple of imperial settlements in the time of Uriel Septim V. There was one called Ionith, which was in an abandoned town. And there was Septima, which was a port city, which is now, both of these are completely abandoned after the death of Uriel Septim V, after a lot of, you know, Tsaesci invasions going over there, and it basically sent them all home, or they were eaten by the Tsaesci, which was something that was extremely emphasised, that these are actually eating the people that are going over there. You know, it's going to be definitely a frightening, haunting place to go to, Akavir. When we go over there, especially, you know, coming into fights with these Tsaesci, it's going to be maybe taking a little bit of a scary horror vibe, maybe. That could be something that could happen, which I'd be up for, to kind of get a new kind of, not a feeling, but kind of like a new kind of avenue to go down, because the Elder Scrolls games aren't really scary, but having these kind of scary moments would be interesting. So I assume, if, you know, in the time of the game, if it is set in Akavir, you know, there's going to be maybe, you know, these 2 Imperial settlements actually revitalised and taken up again and now fully thriving and stuff like that. And that would be really cool to see. Another thing that we could find out about as well is that we could see about, you know, read about our old Morrowind character, because the Nerevarine, who is the name of our character that we played in Morrowind, we actually read about in Oblivion that he took a trip to Akavir after defeating Dagothur. We never heard of him again. So that would be really interesting to hear about. Say, like, if we go over to Akavir and we find out that the Nerevarine was actually became a leader over in Akavir. That'd be really cool to hear about, you know, maybe the actions of our old player when we go over there, because the person that we play, we don't really tend to hear much about once we finish these games, which is, I'd love to, you know, maybe go over there and find out that he was actually revered as a Akaviri person and really loved, or, you know, he went over there and he just died straight up, and, you know, people couldn't remember him and stuff like that. That'd be, you know, maybe give an idea of a quest line to find out what happened to him and stuff like that. That'd be really cool, you know, for the people who have played Morrowind to really get that affection, find out what our character did afterwards. I think that'd be really cool. But, you know, there is going to be some stuff that I think both we can assume, and what have also been said in the leaks. The one that have been said in the leaks, then we could assume as well, is that the settlement system from Fallout 4, and maybe you can even say it started off in Skyrim with Hearthfire, DLC, the way we could build our own home, it is going to evolve further because we're building colonies for people of Tamriel to bring over there, which is going to give room for the other races of Tamriel to go over there and stuff like that, and be able to see the ones that we're familiar with and stuff like that. That is something that, again, is going to be safe to assume, and, you know, maybe go over there as well, and, you know, be able to see how these factions are kind of building up over there. That's another thing I haven't really thought about. How are the factions going to play out over in Akavir? You know, the Dark Brotherhood, for instance, are they going to have a presence in Akavir that we just didn't know about until this? The Thieves Guild, Fighters Guild, Mages Guild, what's going to happen? Or is it just going to be a completely new setting over there with new guilds, new everything, which some people would be, I think, thinking like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to hear, you know, all these new fucking guilds over there. I want to get the ones that I'm familiar with and the ones that I regularly play with and I really like to learn more about. But then part of me also thinks, like, you know, going over to a new continent, I would have really enjoy hearing about what is going on over in Akavir, and having that blank slate could bring something new, and I'd be honest with you, I wouldn't be completely opposed to that. You know, it would be something like, once we finish playing it, and these guilds are absolutely trash, then we could maybe walk away from it and say, like, okay, setting on Akavir was a really cool setting, but when it comes down to the guild, it didn't do anything. It didn't do the game any favors. But you know, we've also got the other Elder Scrolls games where we played those, and I'd like to see them delve into something a bit more different and interesting. So, thanks a lot for watching this video. Please let me know what you think about the leaks, for instance. Like, personally, like I said in the video that I did in the leaks, I did a nearly 40-minute video about the recent Bethesda leaks. You should maybe go check that out to, you know, supposed leaks even, to see what you truly believe about it and things like that, and if you take anything away. I'm not going to really clarify and say that I truly believe these leaks until I've played Starfield, which is going to be announced. Yeah, I believe it's going to be announced at the E3 press conference with Bethesda and then revealed later this year. That's what I personally believe. We'll have to wait and see if that's the case. I'm 99.9% sure that that's actually going to be true. But once that gets, when Starfield comes out, let's say hypothetically, and I've played it, and it lines up with the leaks, then I'll go back to these and I'll talk a bit more about if I believe these or not and things like that. But please let me know what you think about this video and if you believe those leaks. Again, I have a bit more of a discussion about the Elder Scrolls 6 in particular and Akavir. Do you like Akavir as a setting? It's one that's actually been popular with the Elder Scrolls fans to go over there and see what's happening over there and stuff like that, because it's all crazy and everything. But do you want to maintain that mystery as well, which is something that I said in the last video that I really want to maintain? That mystery of Akavir has been really cool to read about and stuff, and going over there is going to kind of shatter that. Well, please let me know what you think, and please make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.